I hear through other workers who have worked at these EDM venues that a lot of their opening DJs haven't even gotten paid for any of the things they've done in the past year.
What's preventing you from doing shows? Because I have my own reason why I don't play shows, which a lot of artists say is a good revenue stream. Although, spoiler alert, while it can be, it's often listed as a marketing expense for a lot of artists playing shows and touring. But it can be a good moneymaker, especially in the electronic music world. So are you doing shows? If not, why not? And yeah.
So I do DJ, but it's mostly weddings.
Yeah.
So I'm not dropping my latest banger at a wedding. But that I do the weddings because that's a really good income source.
Yeah.
When it comes to playing shows like EDM shows, it's tougher. I looked into doing that, but it's a tougher sell to get one of those than I had hoped for. I'm not opposed to doing it. I would have a lot of fun doing something like that. But when I contact promoters, and I do this in my local area mostly because that's where I have the biggest pull. I have a lot of listeners in this area. I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of family. I could pull 50 people to come see me play, which for a promoter is pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
One of our EDM clubs here is only, I feel like it's only like 200, 300 people can fit in there. It's really small. If I were an opener at something like that, I could pull a good audience. I could get a lot of people to buy drinks, like all of the stuff that they need. And I say this in my emails to them, and then they respond. They ask for my social media, and I send it to them, and then they never respond again. I did have one promoter in Philadelphia who was down to give me a shot. He said if I can guarantee that I bring 30 people out, he'll give me an opening slot. But the other issue with all of that is I hear through other workers who have worked at these EDM venues that a lot of their opening DJs haven't even gotten paid for any of the things they've done in the past year. And that they're business-wise, they're not very responsible, and they don't really care too much about like the artists that they have come up that aren't the ones who are selling, thousands of tickets. So it seemed to me that it was a lot more trouble than it was worth. Wedding DJing pays way more than club DJing, and I will wait until my music is so popular that people come to see me for my music, and I don't have to convince a promoter that they need to book me. I would just rather do that. Yes, yeah. And I see Calvin says, tell them you will sell 30 tickets. That is what I basically did.
Yeah. I've like, promoters are interesting. Like, I've heard so many horror stories from artists, but I've also had consulting clients who are promoters ask for my help with ads because they're trying to promote a show. But the problem is a lot of the artists I talk to, obviously, I mean, just like record labels and artists and managers and whatever, there's good and bad everywhere. So like, promoters get the bad rap. There are a lot of bad actors, but there's also plenty of good ones. But the bad horror stories I've heard is that, one, they don't do any promoting. They're just like, they basically buy out a venue, and then they're giving some money of that to the artist, and then they basically sell the tickets and make a bunch more money than everyone else involved. And there's different variances of that. But like, sometimes they'll book shows of artists or decide how much to pay artists by like specifically how many TikTok followers you have. And every promoter and venue will have a different criteria. So like, some will care about your Instagram, some will care about your Spotify monthly listeners, some will care about TikTok, some will factor in all three, and some of them will only pick one. And in the past, it was Facebook pages. And then the crazy thing is, a lot of venues, like, artists, a lot of the time, they don't get paid that much for a show. They might get paid, let's say a couple $100 or whatever, especially if they're an opener, they might even get nothing. But they'll make their money from merch. A lot of venues, at least in the States, take between 20 and 30% of all merch sales.
I hate that so much.
Which is like insane. And so because of that, and there's a great video that, when this video is not a live video, but a final video, maybe I'll remember a link, but it's by Bad Snacks on YouTube. She went on a tour with some other artist, and she did like a post recap, and she explained that, and I was like, oh my god, that's a thing. And I Googled it, and I just found all these stories of people doing it, which is just like nuts. Like a venue, like, oh yeah, you can sell your merch in here, but we're going to take 30%. It's like, why?
That's so crazy. A lot of times the margin on that is pretty small for a lot of artists too. It's not like
that's why concert merch is so expensive a lot of the time. Like, why is it concert shirt $50 when online it's like 30? It's like, that's why.
Yeah, they have to make it worth their time too. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why I'm not super into doing shows. I am looking forward to the opportunity to one day do it. It's not part of the laser focus of people listening to my music on streaming.
My reason for not doing shows is that I did a bunch, not like a ton, but like a good amount when I was a teenager and like the band that I had at the time. And we didn't do like big shows. We were kids, right? But I did a bunch of acoustic stuff as a solo artist, like open mic nights, and then I played various local fairs, and some of them were paying reasonably well for the fair gigs. I ran my own open mic night with the band. We played a bunch of different shows, local venues. There's this church that had like a metal scene, and then there was...
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was the basement of a church. We played there a couple times, and then we played a few battle with bands and stuff like that. But as soon as I got into recording music, and like... I guess recording music, but also writing with a computer and more writing-y stuff with production, I was just instantly like, this is my favorite part of music. Like, I never really liked the playing show aspect. Like, it's fun, but it's like, it's so much work, it's so much time. You're usually getting paid badly unless you're a larger artist. And if you get to the larger size, it can be incredibly well worth it money-wise. But it's just like, I don't love it. Like, and so I'll probably end up doing it at some point if all goes well, right? If there's enough demand for it, hopefully I would do it again. But it's just like the writing and production, it's like that's where I'm at. And just, a lot of people don't get that. But